sponsored by Riverside.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome to another episode of In-Laws and Out of Bounds. I am your host, Hagen. Sitting to the side of me, our other host, Emilio. We've got a lot going on today. We are super excited to be here. It's going to be a great episode. This is our first video cast, I guess you would call it. So bear with us as we get through some of that. Hopefully, y'all don't have to watch our intro. Maybe we can put something in front of that so you don't have to see us dancing. But, man, we've got a lot to get to. Spurs, they're going to stay in San Antonio. We've got playoff rankings. The bracket's finally out, giving us a little bit of what the committee thinks and how that's going to shape out. NFL trade deadline, a ton of moving parts there. And then we're going to pick some games. It's going to be a lot of fun. What do you think, Emilio?
I'm excited. A lot going on. This is the best time of the year. You mentioned it before. You know, baseball was going on still, but that's gone. But we have basketball. We got football. For me, this is my happy time. This is where it all comes together. Weather gets a little cooler. Football gets a little bit more intense. You got basketball for the days that you don't feel like watching something on Netflix. Is a great time to be alive.
Yes, it is. And guys and gals, for our first one, we're going to celebrate with a little cold one right here, right? So, oh yeah, nice little cold one. Cheers there to you, Emilio, and to everybody watching.
Coming to you live from downtown Houston, but the Rockies are always blue.
Always blue, baby. Well, let's get right into it. Like we talked about, Prop A and Prop B passed in San Antonio. I don't know if there's many of you that care about this, but this is a big deal, especially for those that live around our community and in the San Antonio community as well. Thank you, voters of San Antonio, for voting for this and passing this, because if this didn't happen, the Spurs were going to be in Las Vegas. They were going to send them packing just like the Silver Stars did, right? The whole family was ready to say, hey, you know what? They'll build us a whole brand new stadium right on the Strip probably. So that it's a good thing that the Spurs are staying, especially with the upside that it looks like it has with Wemby and Fox and all these guys that they're getting. They still have a lot of first-round picks around. So it is great to see that happen and get it passed. It's not a burden of the taxpayers either, I believe. Don't fact check me on that, but from what I've heard and understand, it's a hotel tax, but that's great news. I know you're not a Spurs fan, Emilio, but you still have to be positive about this.
Somebody fact check this guy, please. Okay, I don't trust the government.
I'm not saying I trust the government either, but we don't have to get in. It's not that kind of show. Let's not start it like that. Let's not start it like that. But great thing for the Spurs to stay in San Antonio.
No, I think the reason why they got off to their hot start this year, are they still undefeated or have they dropped one?
No, they finally dropped one. Yep.
I think they got off to this hot start to try to convince the voters to keep that stadium there in San Antonio, and or to try to really lock in that Vegas trip just in case that vote didn't go well. So don't be surprised if they start to fall off now.
Yeah, well, the biggest thing is that they talked about it with the Spurs, like with them. If they would have left, there's no MLB team that was going to go to San Antonio. There's no NFL team that's going to go to San Antonio. This is their only chance of really having a professional team, besides the Flying Chanclas, right? But that's their only chance. So it's good to see that coming, or has come and staying, right? So, anyways, just wanted to say that. That's good.
Quick,
turn off the thing there.
Where's this new stadium being built at?
Right across from the Alamo Dome.
So
I know initially.
Stadium.
What?
Is the SBC Center staying?
The Frostbank Center is staying. They're going to do like a rodeo year-round kind of deal. So it's going to be updated. I think they're still going to do concerts and stuff, but the San Antonio Rodeo is taking over that center, and they're going to try to do rodeos year round. I don't really know how that looks or how it works. I talked to Cody. I texted him this today, told him congratulations and stuff like that. At some point, I'd like to get a little more info from him and see what's going on there. But yeah, that's what it is. It's going to be right across from the Alamo Dome. Apparently, they were talking about putting some kind of like walkway over I-35 right there to where you can walk in between. I don't know if that's going to happen. I saw an article about that was going to take too long. TxDOT can barely get 410 done that they've been working on for
Yeah,
25
they're
years.
still
So
on I-10
yeah, there's
and
they started
281.
expanding. Yeah, they started working on 281, 1604, 410. They don't know what they're doing. They got 90 going both ways from Seguin to Castroville, and they've got stuff everywhere. So that's a big project to take on there. But sorry if we got any construction workers out there with TxDOT, but don't get onto us. But anyway, so good thing there, positive, good news for San Antonio. But let's get into the main stuff. What we're really here for, football talk. We are getting in the thick of it. College football, we've really got about a month left of the regular season, and there's a lot of things that are shaking up here. It came out yesterday, last night, the college football playoff rankings, and the committee really opened their hand up for the first time to show what they were thinking. There's been a lot of speculation on how they were going to put people in, keep people out. You see how they valued a lot of conferences, and then they devalued some conferences like the ACC. They didn't have anybody ranked in that top 12 to begin with. So we're not going to go from 25 up. That would take too long. I'll go from 12 down, and then we'll get into that a little bit. So coming in at 12, you have Memphis, who was not ranked at all in the top 25. Basically, what happens there is that you get your 5 conferences that get automatic bids. So they went from 1 all the way down, and they kept going within the rankings until they found the highest ranked next conference, champion that they think, and that was Memphis. And they were somewhere in the 30s, I believe. So you got Memphis at 12, Virginia at 11, even though they were ranked number 14th, they would be right now in the lead for the ACC championship, so they would get an automatic bid into it. They would not get an automatic bye like last year. They did away with that, but they would get a bid into it. So Virginia at 11, Notre Dame at 10, Oregon is 9, Texas Tech is 8, BYU is 7. Those are really interesting, having those two Big 12 teams back to back. Ole Miss at 6, Georgia 5, Alabama's 4, Texas A&M is 3, Indiana 2, and Ohio State 1. The first two out, which would be number 13 and 14, is Texas and Oklahoma. So they got Texas at 11, and they've got Oklahoma at 12 in their actual rankings. But because of those two automatic qualifier bids, they get knocked out for Virginia and Memphis to get in there. So what were your initial thoughts on these rankings? Especially, looking at the whole top 25, there's a lot that can change with those teams still being in consideration, but really focusing on this top 12.
I think the biggest thing here is what we touched on before, and that's Notre Dame. Notre Dame being where they are at number 10 and getting the spot right now, which, like you mentioned, this doesn't mean anything. We still have a lot of important football left to play. So this isn't probably going to look anything like what it does right now by the time we get to the end of the season. But with them at 10, assuming they win out, which they should, unless Navy pulls out something crazy, they're going to get a spot. And you're going to have a team like Oklahoma or Texas or Vandy, somebody that, has played a very tough schedule that's going to get left out for a team that's kind of coasted after the first 2 weeks. So that's kind of disappointing to see. I know I went on a rant last week about, we got to stop rewarding them for this soft schedule, and it doesn't look like that's going to happen, but I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they're a great football team and they give everybody hell, but we'll see.
Yeah, it's kind of the same thing that's happened year after year with Notre Dame, it seems like. I think the biggest thing that I took out of this is obviously you have the top two teams being the Big Ten. You go 3 through 6, you've got 4 teams there that are SEC, right? two Big 12 teams, and then another Big 10, and everybody after that, right? So I'm surprised by BYU and Tech being right there. They're giving a lot of respect, a lot more respect to the Big 12 than I thought they would give. I don't necessarily think that that means that they're going to let a two-loss Big 12 team in. I think Tech is still on thin ice. They have to win this Saturday to, well, they have to win this Saturday to get in unless they're able to get to the conference championship still, right, and get their automatic qualifier in. But Tech is not going to be able to lose two games, miss the conference championship game, and still get in, I believe. So it's really interesting to see that, how close they had there. And then really looking at it too, they had Utah at number 14. Utah is a two loss team, or they're 13, excuse me. They're a two loss team as well. Both of those losses have come to BYU and Tech. So seeing how close they had those Big 12 teams there makes me think that they're giving a lot more respect to that. But even though those teams are there, I don't see them getting that Big 12 two-loss team into the playoff because more than likely Ole Miss isn't going to lose. Alabama, they do have a tough test against Oklahoma coming up next week. That's a toss-up game, but I think they're going to get that one done. Georgia, they still have Texas and Georgia Tech. But if they clear those, they're in. Even if they split 1-1, they're probably in because their other losses to Bama, right? They're not going to pick a two-loss Big 12 team against a two-loss SEC team, especially one like Georgia. And then you look at it as Oregon, okay? Oregon we talked about them not playing anybody yet, but as they've gone along through their season, their level of competition has actually picked up a little bit. They still have to play Iowa, who they play this week. That's a tough matchup. They've got USC, I think, next week, and then they play at Washington, right? So all three of those teams are ranked within the top 25 right now. Washington being number 23, USC's at number 19, and then Iowa is at 20. So all three of those teams have proven to stand the test of time over the season, right? They've picked up some decent wins. They've been competitive. Notre Dame, they don't really have anybody that you look at. They do have an upcoming matchup that is at Pitt. That is an interesting one there because Pitt has come along and they're a better team than people give credit for. They're coming in right at number 24 right now. So they're slowly creeping into that. They still have a chance to get to the ACC championship. They're a two-loss team, but they're still right there in the mix of it. So where I see it as is that the biggest team that doesn't have any room for error is Virginia because they do not value any of these ACC teams at all. And it's something that we talked about with Georgia Tech even as early as last week before they lost, is that they never really respected them as an 8-0 team where they were. So one of these ACC teams is going to have to win it, and they're going to get in that way. They're not going to let anybody else in from that conference, more than likely the way it looks, because a lot of these other teams look like they're going to finish out the schedule. The top two are probably not going to change. Even if they lose, they're going to probably play each other in the conference championship game, right? I know Ohio State still has the matchup against Michigan coming up at the end of the year, and they haven't won one in,
Sleep
what,
on
4
'em.
years?
You
Huh?
keep sleeping on the Big Blue. Put some respect on Big
I
Blue.
do, and maybe I'm wrong. I wouldn't be upset if I'm wrong, but even if they lose to the Big Blue, they're not going to get left out, right?
No, yeah, no,
They
you're
won't get
right.
left out. So Indiana and Ohio State have room for probably two losses here, as long as they're not bad losses. I mean, Indiana, you look at it more; they don't have anybody to play. But if they lose if they lose in the conference championship game, they're in either or. So A&M still got somewhat of a tough schedule. They've got Missouri this weekend. They still have to travel to Texas as well in Austin. But this thing's going to change up. There's no way that all 12 of these teams are in it. Obviously, with BYU and Tech playing this weekend, it'll be interesting to see what happens there. And then one of these teams is going to get upset somewhere, potentially. Like how often do we see a ranking come out, even when it was just 4 teams, and all 4 of those teams stayed in it, right?
Yeah.
So
I got a question for you.
go for it.
With Tech and BYU being where they are, one right after the other, let's say BYU loses to Tech this weekend, but they lose by 1 point. Do they just swap spots?
I think they probably kick BYU out.
For one loss?
Yeah.
To the team that's right below them with 1 loss?
So they respected them by putting them in, both of them, but they're 7-8. Do you think the way that they've treated, say Oregon gets past Iowa this week, they're going to drop them behind Oregon because they have 1 loss to Indiana. They basically, Notre Dame's 2 losses at the beginning of the year, they're almost non-existent, really. I mean, right now, obviously, if they lose a 3rd game, they're done. If they lose to, say, Pitt, like they're out. But really, they're going to keep them hovering right there around. They could probably get as high as number 8, 7, somewhere in there, right? 7 or 8. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they're not going to. They probably jump Texas over them if Texas wins. I mean, I guess Texas doesn't play this week, but yeah, I don't think. Look at where they put Georgia Tech. Right? They have 1 loss and they dropped them all the way to 17. They don't even have. If Virginia's undefeated, correct?
In conference play.
Yeah. Oh, so they have 1 loss, right? They've got 1 loss, and they've got them out of the where they truly see them. They're out of the top 12. The only reason they're in it is because of conference title. So, yeah, I think if BYU loses, that's an opportunity for them to jump Texas into, that number 11 spot right there, and then boost somebody like Virginia up or something. So,
yeah, and that's kind of why I wanted to ask, because I see where you're coming from and where you're looking at it. It's not necessarily about what BYU didn't do, but about what other teams potentially do. And so you get more recognition there instead of, you lost a 1-point game to the team that's right behind you and now y'all got the same record. So it makes sense. It would just be a shame.
The one good thing that's floating out there that's going to happen, that hopefully, I guess that there potentially could happen for future years, is that they're looking at it as a point ranking system. So essentially, you could take Texas losing to Ohio State, for example, right? Texas goes and they play at Ohio State, and it's a ranked game, but they lose, right? They still earn, say, 5 points for that. Versus playing a team like Sam Houston State, who they're paying $500,000 to come play, right? A cupcake game, and winning that at home and blowing them out, they get no points for that win. So they're going to start stacking some of these a little heavier as favored as, okay, hey, we want you to actually play some competition, and then we're going to truly judge you off of, okay, you played a top 10 team, you lost by 3 points, that earns you whatever in the point ranking system, right? So that's something positive that they're looking at, trying to take some of that human opinion out of it, I guess, right? Because you even look at it with the AP poll. What's struggled with the AP poll in the past, which the AP poll doesn't matter anymore, but there are a bunch of sports writers that don't always watch all the games, right? So if you get that, it's only a committee of 13, so hopefully those people that are picked are watching all the games, are taking everything into consideration, all of this stuff. But if you put some of that into play, then it takes some of the guess out of it as far as like, Notre Dame, they lost to Miami and they lost to A&M, and both those teams were top 20 teams at the time, so they're going to get 10 points for that. But they don't get any points for beating Western Kentucky, right?
Yep.
So
sounds a lot like the BCS.
Essentially. But they have to look at this too. Some of this is going to go to the wayside if they go to a 24-team playoff as well.
Let's make it a 64-team playoff.
March Madness, baby. Get the bubble going. I mean, but the 24-team playoff's a real thing. It's really floating out there. So, I don't know. Some of that will go to the wayside because once you get to that top 24, the teams that are playing well are going to get in, and it doesn't matter if you have 3 losses at that
Right.
point. Then it's truly, whatever happens. At that point, you got to get rid of conference championship games too, because then you're not getting rewarded for playing in a conference championship game. That's just one extra game on your schedule. Right now, even with this 12 team, you're not really getting rewarded for playing in that game unless you absolutely have to and you are, you know, that's the only way you can get in. But those teams that play in those games really are the losers of it because if you lose, it's not supposed to get held against you, but it does. And if you win, it's just an extra game you played, right? You
Right.
have to say you don't get a bye, then you got to turn around and play the next week or two. While the team that you're playing, they've had a week off, extra week off, or whatever it is. So, um, yeah, that's interesting. But looking at these potential matchups too in the first round, man, these would be a lot of fun, right? You'd have Oregon versus Tech in Lubbock. That would be electric. You'd have Memphis traveling to Georgia to play between the hedges. That one would not be so much fun. Virginia would go to Oxford to play Ole Miss, and then Notre Dame would go over to Utah to play BYU. That would be
That'd be a good one.
that'd be pretty fun to watch, right? Winner of Oregon and Tech would go on to play Ohio State. Georgia Memphis would play Alabama. Virginia and Ole Miss would play A&M, and then Notre Dame and BYU would play Indiana. So even good semifinal rounds after that. Or I guess quarterfinal rounds, sorry. But no, I think for the first one, it was kind of as we predicted. That kind of lined out the way I did. The only thing that I really didn't see was them having both BYU and Tech in. That was, I thought they'd have Texas in over one of them.
They had to do that, and then after this weekend, it's going to change. So,
Yeah, it's just to keep everybody off their back, right?
right.
So, but but no, that's good. You got anything else you want to touch on in there?
No, I mean, we'll see how this goes the rest of the season. I think it's going to look a lot different by the time we get to the end of November. So, I'm
For
excited to see
sure,
how it plays out.
for sure. Let's get into some picks. Let's do that. Let's start Friday. We've got Northwestern traveling to Southern California to face the Trojans there. They got USC 14.5 point favorites.
Yeah, Northwestern is hot garbage. Give me USC.
With a 5-3 record, they're hot garbage.
Yeah, that. Listen, don't buy into the Northwestern. They're not good.
I know nothing about Northwestern, but I've stuck with Lincoln Riley throughout the season, and I'm going to continue to do that.
USC
So
is not, spectacular either, but they're good enough to beat Northwestern, and I think they will.
there you go. Getting into Saturday morning, you have number 2 Indiana traveling to face the Nittany Lions, right, over at Beaver Stadium. That is a 14.5 point spread there as well in favor of Indiana. Fun fact here, Indiana is 25-2 all time versus Penn State.
Interesting.
Yep.
I think Penn State makes another half game, half close game like they did last week with Ohio State, but Indiana's too much for them. Penn State's looking for next year already. They're playing with the backup quarterback. They played some inspire ball for a half, so I expect that again, but I don't expect them to win. I think Indiana covers.
Yeah, Indiana's I've said it the whole time we've been talking about it, and I've said it all year. They're going to blow them out. I don't think it's going to be as close as it was with Ohio State. So I think they got up. I think they got a little up for that one, and they'll try to for this one, but they'll see that they cannot compete. So give me Indiana there, and they cover all day. Georgia is traveling to Stark Vegas, right? That's only an 8.5 point game. Yep, in Georgia's favor there. That's upset alert.
Potentially, Mississippi State, anytime they play in Starkville, you have that factor there, but Georgia's a resilient team. I think this is one where they come out and just dominate because we've seen better teams struggle with Mississippi State, and I think they come out and dominate to prove a point with this one.
It could be something that Georgia's looking ahead to Texas next week, right?
Not
So
not with Kirby's boys.
you don't
Kirby,
think so?
Kirby's focused on right now.
I'm still going to take Georgia, but just thinking they could be looking ahead a little bit there, and you never know what could happen.
Are you
So
waffling already? Didn't you
I
learn your?
am a little bit. Uh, the next game we have the Alcoholics versus the Mormons. College game day of the week. Number 7, BYU is headed to Lubbock to face the Red Raiders of Texas Tech, the number 8 ranked Red Raiders. This is a pretty decent spread. They got old Tech minus 10.5 here. That's
I'm not
pretty
surprised.
wild.
There hasn't been any respect given to Bear Bachmeyer and these Brigham Young Cougars. I don't know why. If anybody's ever watched them play, they are electric. They're very sound on defense. They're not flashy. They've never been flashy. But my heart says I want to pick BYU. My head says I'm an idiot. And I'm still going to pick them. Give me BYU in this one.
This is the first time that College Game Day has been to Lubbock since 2008, when they then defeated the number 1 ranked Texas Longhorns in that Crabtree game.
Oh, that was a great game.
And yeah, Tech won 39-33 there, ruined Texas's hopes of a national championship that year, broke old Colt McCoy's heart. So
Were you a Texas fan at that point?
I was not. No,
Huh.
sir. Not in 2008. I wasn't. In 2005, sure.
Everybody
Yeah.
was a Texas fan in 2005.
Yeah, everybody wanted Texas to win in 2005. I mean, it's hard not to root when you're a young kid, especially in 2008. What was I, 13? No, what? Heck, I guess I was 15 then, right? So it's hard not to root for a Texas kid named Colt when you're from Texas, but I was already bleeding maroon by then. So, yeah. But this one's going to come down to BYU and their rush attack versus that Tech defense. That's the biggest deal. So BYU is going to need to keep the ball away from Tech. They're going to need to run it efficiently as they have to limit Tech's offense and their big play opportunities. So that's the biggest deal that I see there. BYU with LJ Martin, he's averaging 114 yards a game. BYU as a team is averaging 4.6 yards per carry. That's a huge impact to that game right there. Can BYU get the run game going and keep it going and limit Morton and those boys from getting those big play opportunities, right? Tech, they're only allowing 282 yards a game, which is 10th in the nation, and they're 4th in points allowed overall, and they're only giving up 13.2 points a game. So they've got a stout defense, right? You've got those linebackers and John Curry, Jacob Rodriguez, Ben Roberts. That's a stout linebacking core. So that front seven for Tech needs to show up like they have in games past and really stop that run, make BYU do some things that they don't always want to. They need to make old number 47 throw the football. Normally when you see those numbers like that, they're more of running quarterbacks. They're not so much throwers.
I
Right?
think that's the key factor in this is I think Tech is going to underestimate Bear Bachmeyer's ability to stand in the pocket and deliver the ball. He hasn't had to do it often, but when he's called upon to do it, he can. And I think they're going to underestimate him. Turn that boy into a pocket passer. Find out what happens.
Well, we'll see. I'm gonna roll with Tech on this one. I don't think they cover, but I think I've been with Tech all year. I think they get it done. I don't see BYU standing up. That crowd's gonna be crazy, even though it's an 11 o'clock game in Lubbock. Those Red Raiders are probably gonna just stay up all night and keep going through it, or they'll just start drinking cocktails at 6 in the morning and really get their pregame in. It's sad that they made it so early in the game or early in the day, but yeah, give me Tech. I don't think BYU is going to be able to keep up with them. I think that they are going to be able to limit that run somewhat, make Bear Bachmeier throw the ball, and he's not going to be able to keep up with the other side. Look for Dickey to have a big game for Tech running the ball too. So moving on from that one, we've got number one, the Ohio State University traveling to Purdue. Big spread here. They got Ohio State minus 29.5. I'm taking Ohio State.
Yeah,
Purdue
that's
ain't got nothing.
not big enough. Purdue's terrible. I got Ohio State by 47.5.
Yep. Big game. The Cathedrals traveling to Oxford to take on number 6 Ole Miss. It's one of those games where you don't get any points for it, right? Ole Miss, they don't even have a spread for this one. They ain't giving anybody any numbers. Yeah. 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 Give me old Trinidad and the boys. They're going to get a little tune-up game here for the rest of the year.
$5 says Trinidad doesn't play after the third quarter.
I don't think he plays after half.
You might be right about that.
Yeah, I don't think he plays after the half. Okay. Another big game, probably the big one that us and most of our viewers are going to be looking out for. Number 3, Texas A&M is traveling to Columbia, Missouri to face the Tigers, the number 22 ranked Tigers. They got A&M minus 6.5 here. This is a 2:30 start. This is going to be a big test. Missouri is going to be down their starting quarterback in Perbula. So I think what really needs to happen, kind of like what we talked about with Tech, A&M's front seven is really going to have to step up here. They're going to have to make it a long day for Zollers, and they're going to have to slow down Hardy. He's probably the best running back in the SEC in my opinion. He's had 100 yards in the last 12 of 16 games or something like that. So he has been proven to run the ball. They're really going to have to get to stop that on that front seven and then get after him. Get after that young quarterback. Make him make some decisions that he doesn't want to. Get him uncomfortable. See if he can really read the plays. What does that look like? And then on the other side of the ball, Missouri's defense is no slouch either. So this is a big game that Marcel Reed's going to be tested in. This is a game where he could either completely ruin his Heisman finalist opportunity or solidify it right here, especially on the road against the top 25 team. He is going to need some help from his running attack. Owens is going to have a big game here. But there's going to be times where Reed is going to be asked to throw the ball. He's going to have to hit some of those downfield throws that he's been inaccurate over the course of the season on. He needs to get a little better on that. That's probably the one part of his game where you look at it and he's had open receivers down the field and he hasn't always been able to hit those targets. So Reed being able to make things happen, make it one of those games where, hey, you have to keep up with us. Let Missouri get behind as well if the defense is able to get some stops where they have to play catch up, and then unleash that A&M defensive line. Let them go get after that young quarterback. Let's see what they can do.
So who are you taking?
Oh, the Aggies. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. I got to tell you, I don't love this matchup. I don't love it, but I've convinced myself that this Texas A&M team is different, and I believe in them. So I'm going to go with the Aggies. I think a lot of what you touched on there is what makes me nervous about this matchup. Missouri's running back he's a stud. That backup quarterback in his small sample size that he put out against Vandy was impressive. So I think that's another factor that makes me a little bit nervous is when you have a kid that you don't have a lot of tape on and you don't really know how to scheme for him. So this is going to be one of those games where you just go out there with your basic set against their basic set and find out who's just better. And I like Texas A&M's talent more than I like Missouri's. I think the Aggies are going to win this one. I think it's probably closer than a lot of people and a lot of experts and a lot of A&M fans think it's going to be. I don't think we're going to roll over them, but I think we're going to win.
You don't have enough faith. I
Cannot.
think it's early. I think it's going to be early, close, and they're going to pull away in the fourth. And it's not going to. The game's going to be closer than it looks like on the score sheet, but 14 points or more, probably. I'm
I
feeling
hope.
confident.
I hope you're right.
I'm feeling confident. But a lot of people elsewhere that don't feel nearly as confident, but I
I'm.
trust Elko. Yep, I know. Another big game we got going on. Number 9, Oregon is traveling to Iowa to face the number 20 Hawkeyes there. That's going to be a 2:30 start as well. This Iowa team, they've been right there. They're finally getting a little bit of respect, getting put into not only the top 25, but now the top 20 being ranked where they are. You probably know a little bit more about them than I do. This is going to be a test for the Ducks. They really haven't had much other than Indiana where they got really physically dominated. I think that's what Ohio's going to have to do. They have to be the physical team, be the aggressor, kind of do the same thing. Iowa's never been known to keep up on the scoreboard. So they're going to have to win it old fashioned and burn the clock and play keep away.
And so we talked about this a little bit off air, but I think that's the biggest factor in this game is if you look at the way Iowa wins games, they slow the game down. Kirk Ferentz is historically known over his 27-year career in Iowa to have the most mundane offense in the world with these quarterbacks that are they're horrible. But they have one this year that's a dual threat guy, and that's probably a little bit too much credit because he's not really dual threat. He runs a lot more in what he throws. But if they can play keep away, Iowa has always had a very physical defense, and this year is no different. They have a physical defense. They're very sound defensively. Kirk Ferentz is a defensive-minded coach, and that's very apparent. So I think the biggest factor for this game is Iowa being able to slow down Oregon and being able to do just enough. And it's going to be a classic keep away. They need to own the time of possession. They got to be physical on defense and then just grind out on offense. I mean, it's going to be a very, I wouldn't be surprised if Iowa has, I don't know, 300 yards rushing and 120 passing. And the score being somewhere like 18-6. But
That sounds like a very Iowa game right there.
if if they get behind early, it could be a massive blowout in a hurry.
Oh yeah.
They cannot get behind. Once they get behind, that's it. But when you look at who Oregon and Iowa have played that are similar opponents, this is a pretty even matchup. They both played Indiana relatively close. They
Mm-hmm.
both played a game with Penn State that was relatively close. They both blew the doors off of, gosh, it just left me, off of Wisconsin, which, not a real competitive team, but they both did what you're supposed to do against a non competitive team. So I think just based on flash, everybody thinks Oregon's going to roll in this one. I'm going to go with the Hawkeyes. I think their defense is good enough to slow down Oregon. I think it's going to be a ugly game, but in Iowa, whenever they start running out and waving to those kids, it's a different feel. I don't think Oregon's ready. If it was an Autzen, I'd probably agree with everybody that Oregon rolls. Give me the Hawkeyes in this
Man,
one. Hot pick of the
going with
week.
the Hawkeye. Hot pick of the week. I'm going to stay with the Ducks on this one. I just don't feel. I do feel like Iowa's been disrespected, but I worry about them getting behind. Just takes one or two big plays. It would please me no more than to see the Ducks lose. But I'm going to go with them. They got beat up by Indiana. Indiana dominated them. So if Iowa can do those things, then it'd be no surprise to me. But give me Oregon. We're gonna split there. We're
I
gonna
like
split
it.
on that one. Yep. Syracuse is gonna travel down to Miami, take on the Hurricanes. They are favored by 28.5 there. Give me Miami, but not to cover.
I agree. I think Miami's in a weird spot right now. I don't think they get out of it. I think they win the game, but I think it's another one of those ugly games. Syracuse is one of those teams that'll just sneak up on you randomly and give you a shootout for no apparent reason. So I think Miami wins, but I think it's close.
Auburn is going to travel to Nashville to take on the number 6 team, Vanderbilt Commodores, and Diego Pavia. Vanderbilt is favored by 6.5 here. Man, Auburn moving on from Hugh Freeze. I don't think there's much there. They've been a tough team for sure. If this one was in Auburn, I would probably pick Auburn, to be honest with you. But Vanderbilt's probably going to want to prove something after losing to Texas last week. They played really well at home. Their only 2 losses are on the road. So give me Vanderbilt here.
Yeah, I think Vandy understands that they have to have this one. I think they get this one. Auburn, again, another team that's in a really weird place. Losing your coach at this point in the season is always weird. I think it was weird before then with them and Hugh Freeze. So I think Vandy rides the ship right here, gets their fan base back behind them. They're at home. They have a little bit of inspired football behind them, and I think they win.
Yep. Washington is going to travel to Wisconsin here. They've only got Washington favored 11.5. Give me the Huskies.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Washington's just taking a plane trip to Wisconsin and coming back. That's not a football team right now.
Yeah, we're ruining Wisconsin football program as a whole. It's terrible to see. Wake Forest is going to travel over to number 14, Virginia. They got Virginia by 6.5 here. Virginia, they've been playing, I don't know.
Upset alert.
Yeah, I don't see Virginia surviving it, really, the season. I don't know much about Wake Forest, though. That's the problem. I have this gut feeling to pick Wake Forest. What's their mascot again? The Deacons,
The
right?
Deacons.
Yeah. I'm not gonna take them. Give me Virginia. I don't like that.
Uh, I got Virginia on upset alert. They haven't really done anything super impressive. I mean, if we really look at their resume, they beat Florida State in the double overtime game. They beat Louisville in an overtime game, and then they went to overtime with Bill Belichick and his girlfriend. But if you look at Wake Forest and what they've done, also not a whole lot to be impressed by. But they took Georgia Tech to overtime in a close one. They got the doors blown off them by Florida State, and they took SMU to a close finish at the end. So I think Virginia is just one of those teams that sleepwalks through games, and I think this is going to be the one that bites them. So give me Wake Forest in this one.
There you go. California, the Golden Bears are going to take a trip across country to Kentucky to take on the Louisville Cardinals here, number 15 ranked. They got Louisville by 20.5. I think that's a little disrespectful there. I picked the Golden Bears to get the upset last week. They did not. I didn't see enough out of them to go with them again, so give me the Cardinals.
Yeah, Louisville's going to win this game. Again, this is another one of those teams that has those little rat poison drops coming out with maybe Jeff Brom leaving for a bigger program. I think that's a very real possibility, but I think he keeps his guys focused enough to get by this one, and I think they win.
This used to be a great game. This year it's not. Old Baton Rouge, LSU Tigers, going to go over to Tuscaloosa to take on the number 4 Crimson Tide. They've got Alabama 10.5 on this one. This can be a close game, but with what LSU has put on tape and what they've done against other teams, I don't think they really stand a chance. Ty Simpson is probably going to pick that defense apart. Their defense is really good too. Alabama's is. I think this is probably going to be another one. It's going to be close for a little while, but it'll probably end in like a 14, 17 point difference at the end of it.
So LSU took the interim tag off of their new AD. They brought the veterans back into the building, the old heads, to teach the boys a little something about what the program's supposed to be. Coming off a bye week, coming off all the drama. I don't know much about their interim head coach, but I think LSU's got something to prove, especially to the recruits that are standing in line. I want to put Alabama on upset alert, but Alabama is way too good. Ty Simpson, you're starting to hear grumblings now about this guy being the first quarterback off the board, and I think it's deserving. He's got this team going in the right direction. He's too much. I think Alabama wins, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's close.
Yeah, he's the Heisman favorite right now, if I remember correctly, looking at the betting odds. So there's a lot of people that are high on him, and rightfully so. He's done a good job this year. And Kalen DeBoer is probably going to be wearing that black hoodie again. So
I told you he ain't taking that thing off now.
yeah. So last game here. This is a good game that kind of went under the radar here. Probably going to be a blowout, but Navy is going to face number 10 Notre Dame. They've got Notre Dame minus 26.5 here. Man, Navy's 7-1. What are they? Navy lost to Tarleton State, right?
Yeah, they
Or
did.
was it Army? They beat Army. Which one did they beat? Tarleton.
I thought it was Navy. Let me see. Let me double check that.
It was either Navy or Army. I
Oh,
can't remember who.
lost to North Texas. The mean.
Oh, they lost to North Texas, the Mean Green. Okay. I mean, I don't.
Good football.
Yeah, Navy beat Rice 21-13. Yeah, give me Notre Dame. Sorry, I thank you to our troops. Appreciate y'all, but man, I'd love if y'all beat Notre Dame. That'd be great. But looking at y'all's resume here, sorry.
God bless the troops. We appreciate your service, but that old school boxing that Navy likes to do with that triple option, it just don't cut it.
Yeah,
Notre Dame by 1,000.
you got to mix it up a little bit. That's it. That's top 25 games right there. All of them through. You got anything you want to add to college football before we move on to the NFL?
No, I'm excited for this weekend. I think it's a big weekend. I know we keep saying this is where it starts to really shape out, but I really do mean it each time. This is where it really starts to shape out. We find out who's. It's when you get into those deep waters of the season, you're all beat up.
Yep.
Find out who the good teams are and who the bad ones are. So I'm excited about it.
Every week brings something different for sure. So, but wrap it up with college football there. Let's get over to the NFL. Okay, let's start with the big NFL news. Trade deadline ended yesterday, Tuesday at 4 o'clock. There was quite a bit of movement in that trade deadline there. The Colts traded for Sauce Gardner. They traded 2 first-round picks and A.D. Mitchell to the Jets for Sauce Gardner. Poor A.D. Mitchell there. He dropped that ball and he punched his ticket out ever since then. Poor guy.
He was on the trading block at that point.
So you took our undefeated season away. So poor guy there. That's a big pickup for the Colts, though. That's really showing that they're pushing their cards or all their chips into the middle of the table for this season. They're going to take on a pretty decent salary there too with him, but he did sign that extension in July, so they're going to get him for the next 3 years after this. So they got 3.5 years out of Sauce. He's right in his prime as well. He's going to be a big salary cap hit as far as what you look at him for a corner, and we're not truly sure if he's their number one corner, really.
Right.
So it's going to be $30 million a year there that the Colts are going to have to do. I think they have quite a bit of salary cap because they're not paying a high-end quarterback. Their running back does make quite a bit of money, but not a ton. They don't have a big receiver. So they should have a lot of flexibility there to do that. So he'll be under contract through the 2030 season. So they've got their guy for the next several years that really giving up 2 first-round picks, you never know what you're going to get out of those. It's a lot to give up for Sauce Gardner, in my opinion, because he hasn't really produced that much over the last couple years, but he's still a big name.
I think if the Colts weren't so sure about their offensive line and all of their other defensive pieces, I don't see them making this move. But those guys on the offensive line, they've already been paid. They're towards the end of their contracts. I think this you painted it perfectly. This is all the chips to the middle of the table. I think they realized that their championship window was open a couple of years ago whenever they decided to bring in Matt Ryan, and that just didn't pan out. And now they're towards the end of that window being shut on them. So I think they're trying to get that last run in, and I think they have a real opportunity to do it. And I think Sauce just kind of pushes them in that direction even further. You kind of hit on it there. I don't think the expectation level is going to be for him to be the number one guy and follow everybody, but I think it's a serious weapon to have, and it's going to make him an even tougher defense. And I don't see the Colts going to get somebody that Lou Anarumo just wanted just for gigs. I think he actually wanted this guy, and he's a very schematic defensive coordinator. So I'm excited to see how they use him and what they do with him. But I think this makes the Colts an even more dangerous team than what they already look like. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, Colts are going to be pretty good for the rest of the year and probably years to come. So Jaguars traded the Raiders a fourth and a sixth for Jacoby Myers. Not much there. The Eagles made quite a few trades, actually. They traded Miami for Jalen Phillips, gave Miami a third-round pick. Baltimore sent them Jair Alexander and a seventh-round pick. The Eagles sent them a sixth-round pick in return. And then the Eagles received Michael Carter II from the Jets, and they sent the Jets John Minchie and a sixth-round pick. So really what you look at this, they invested on defense heavily. They've been having some issues of getting to the quarterback and having a rotation in the cornerback and the secondary aspect of things. So this really gives the Eagles more depth to move guys around back there, potentially move Cooper DeJean back into the slot where he was very successful last year, open some of that up, and gives them depth to rotate guys in and out on the outside on the corner. So Jair Alexander is not the same player that he was a couple years ago for Green Bay. He went to Baltimore with high expectations. He hasn't performed. Eagles are hoping they can squeeze a little bit of that last juice out of him towards the end of the season, rotate him in and out. Kind of the same thing with Michael Carter. They don't necessarily going to depend on him solely, but if they can get him in there, rotate him with Quentin Mitchell, those guys even play DeJean on the outside some, inside, do all that kind of stuff. That's really what they're hoping for to get out of this. And then Phillips, he's a solid pass rusher, helps on that defensive line. The rich get richer in that aspect because he's a solid football player that was on a lot of teams' radars, I think. So,
Yeah, I think this is a good move for the Eagles, and if there's a team that's going to make this many moves at the trade deadline and have it work out and be familiar in this situation, it's the Eagles because it seems like they've done it the last few years. So I think they feel confident in what they did. When you kind of look at it, they had Darius Slay who walked in the offseason, and Jair Alexander that's your Darius Slay now. So you got Darius Slay there. I think Jalen Phillips and his history with Vic Fangio and understanding what he likes to do on defense is also another big plus. It's a guy that you can plug in, and it's going to be it's easier to get somebody that's already trained than to train somebody. So I don't know. I think these are a lot of good moves for the Eagles. I think they also recognize what they have, and if they have any hopes of going for another Super Bowl run, they needed some work done. I think they could have maybe tried to trade their offensive coordinator for a washing machine, and that probably would have helped too. But that's all right. I think Offense wins games, defense wins championships. So we'll see how this plays out for him.
Let's hope none of it plays out good for him. I did miss a trade here. Who else was it that got traded?
For the Eagles?
No, there was a wide receiver that somebody picked. We were talking about Buffalo, how Buffalo didn't make any
Oh,
moves whatsoever.
Cox went and got Rashid Shaheed from the Saints. I'm telling you, boy, those 2029 Saints are going to look good. We got
Yeah.
Rashid Shaheed as an undrafted free agent. He turned out to be a star. So us trading him and getting what we got for him in return, which I think we got a sixth this year and a seventh next year. We're loading up. Watch out.
Your definition of star and mine are two different things, obviously.
Rashid Shaheed can stretch out a secondary in a hurry. He's a burner.
Anyways, the big secret trades that got, put out there Monday by old Jerry Jones. The Bengals traded Logan Wilson to the Cowboys for a 7th-round pick. What a trade that was teased out there. That happened first thing Monday morning. And then, not only that, they go and they trade a first, a second, and thank God, Mozzie Smith for Quinnen Williams from the Jets. So hopefully the Quinnen Williams puts an end to us drafting Michigan defensive linemen to try to solve our issues there, because it has not worked out whatsoever. So thankfully there. What I'm interested to hear your takes on this. So both of these players, just before you get started, you know what? I just want to hear your take on it. Actually, go for it.
I think if you're if you're a Cowboys fan and you go to bed Monday night after that game, you're upset, and then you wake up Monday morning thinking, this is a new day. Here we go. Let's start off fresh. We're gonna take that loss on the chin and move forward, and then you get another loss by taking Logan Wilson for a seventh. That is truly something. If this was 3 years ago, that'd be almost news. I don't know why this was a secret. I guess because it wasn't notable enough for it to not be a secret. The loss of Mozzie Smith, though, you cannot replace a Mozzie Smith. Not as a player, not as a man.
Oh my gosh. You want to know how my Monday or Tuesday morning went, I guess? Waking up to that.
How'd it go?
You want to know how it went? They got getting bullied on social media by my friends. Right? You know who you are.
Hey,
You know who you are out there. But
they're good people.
yeah. Look, these trades, I'm not going to get overhyped about it. I know you want to talk about Monday night some. They got whipped. They were terrible. The Cowboys did not show up in any fashion. The defense couldn't stop anybody. They made Jacoby Brissett look like he was Kurt Warner, I guess, back in the day for the Cardinals. He was tearing them up. They couldn't get a stop when they needed to. The offense didn't show up. These two trades, they do help the team this year and in the future. Quinnen Williams is an all-pro player. He's going to come in and he is going to make an impact on the defensive line. You now have a rotation between him, Ozigidua, and Kenny Clark as defensive tackles, right? So immediate upgrade there. He will make an impact in that. Logan Wilson, he has been a productive player in the past. He's going to come in, take that middle linebacker spot. Kenneth Murray's been playing a little light in the rear end there, been getting pushed around. So you get somebody who comes in and does that, and then you give that opportunity for Overshown when he does come back this week to have more of a rotation at the beginning versus having to play every down, and he can play that off-the-ball linebacker where he can go side to side, play in coverage a little more, really use that speed that he's used to, right? So both of these guys signed extensions last in 2023. So they're not rentals, right? Jerry is not going to do something to where, and thankfully he didn't do it this year to where he's just going to take a year rental on somebody. He did this for the future as well. So you've got both of these guys through the 2027 season at least. And that helps out for the seasons to come. Can something be saved at this point in the season? Man, it's going to take a miracle. You're shaking your head no. I have like 2% faith right now. I have to see it to believe it. But there's a lot that needs to change and go different. We didn't get any help in the secondary. You do have Revel, who's going to come back as well next time they step on the field, who's going to bring some spark to that cornerback side. Diggs will be back at some point. I don't know why. He has seems like he has no interest in playing. And then maybe adding some of this on the front end will help old Donovan Wilson on the back end, but you got to see it. I got to see it to believe it first. But Logan Wilson for a 7th-round pick, half the time, actually more than half the time, probably 95% of the time, a 7th-round pick doesn't even make the team, right? So automatic boost there. You're not really losing anything there. You know, he was the leading tackler for the Bengals for 4 years, I guess, 3 or 4 years. He missed the last 6 games of 2024, and he still hasn't. But he missed 6 games last year, and he still finished with 104 tackles in 11 games. So he's a tackling machine, right there. He's had 11 interceptions over the past 5.5 seasons, and that's the most among middle linebackers. So his nickname is the Cowboy, and that's because he's from and he's played at Wyoming. So he's a leader. He's a dog. He's going to come in. I watched a video of this guy, stayed up till 1 a.m. just watching tape, convincing himself of how big of a dog this guy was going to be. So, yeah.
I also did some research on this after I saw this come out, and mine was mainly on Cincinnati Bengal fan pages. And the Cowboy is not the nickname I heard. They did call him the leader of the defense, but it was the leader of the Matador defense. They said this guy is the best at doing the old lay tackle.
Yeah, it's hard to say you're getting a solid player when he's hopping from the 32nd ranked defense to the 31st ranked defense, right? So
But I think
a lot of linebacker play though can be blamed on the defensive line of what's in front of you. So that's what I'm going to blame it on because the Bengals don't have a good defensive line whatsoever. So hard to play linebacker when you're getting guys pushed back in your lap, right? So that's what I'm going to blame it on, and I'm going to stick to it.
I think the one thing that you said that started to make sense in my head is the Quinnen Williams trade could improve things. I've been calling for it since we started doing this, and that's if you're going to play that much zone defense in the secondary, you have to have a pass rush. And Quinnen Williams, even though he's an interior defensive lineman, historically he's been very good at getting a push right in the middle. And so if you're able to get a better pass rush, whether it's from the middle or even on the outsides, whatever it takes, I think it's an improvement for that secondary. I think it might help them a little bit, but we'll have to see.
Yeah. No, I mean, he's had 40 sacks over his career. That's pretty high for a defensive tackle. So he's really good at rushing the passer from an interior aspect. He's a very good run stopper as well. He forces fumbles. He is a ball hawk really from that. Now you have to take everything into perspective of where they play, but from a defensive tackle perspective, he does get after the ball quite a bit. So really, you can look at this almost as a Micah Parsons, Quentin Williams trade swap, right? They use the trade. They use that first rounder to get Quentin Williams that they got, one of them that they got from Green Bay. That's a 2027 first rounder, right? And then essentially you traded Mozzie Smith for Kenny Clark. So you get somebody that is going to be a little better, like in the middle of your defense, not necessarily overall as a better player, but he's better for a financial flexibility for the football team going forward, right? So this year, or let's say next year. Next year, he's going to have a $21 million salary, and then the year after that, he's going to be a $25 million salary, and that's going to be compared to what the Packers are paying Parsons, which he's going to get $40 million. He got 45 this year. He's going to get $40 million next year, and then he's going to get $38 million after that. So if you just take that just say all 3 seasons right now, you're going to save like almost $69 million or about $23 million a year. So that really gives Dallas the opportunity now to really take that into free agency. And if they're saying, hey, we really want to, maybe this season we can salvage something, but we really want to put an effort into next year, you give your guys the flexibility. Now, I don't trust Jerry Jones to go make free agent signings because he's never done it. No matter how much money he has, he just doesn't do it. But if he can do it and then still having those 2 first-round draft picks this year and make something of those, 2026, 2027 may be our year. I'm just saying.
Okay.
Maybe our year, pa. Hey, and Monday, you know what I want to say about Monday is that who wants to work on Monday, right? Nobody wants to work on Monday. There's a lot of times where people, they drink too much, they call in sick. They don't want to. Dak didn't want to work on Monday. Come on, I'm just kidding.
Please.
No, I mean that's just what I think of the future. I'm just joking about that other stuff. You got to see it to believe it, but it does make an immediate impact for this year. You're going to see a difference, but really, it was a positive thing. There's a lot of naysayers out there saying, "Hey, this is an F or whatever for the Cowboys. They made a bad decision." No, you don't. You trade an all-pro for a first-round pick, a second-round pick. You never know how those guys are going to pan out. Just look at what the Cowboys have still, right? Mozzie Smith was a first-round pick. He's gone. He was terrible. He's a bust. Look at all the first-rounders, second-rounders, especially when you get where more than likely they're going to land in the draft. In honesty, right? They're probably going to be somewhere in that number. If the season continues the way that it's going, they're probably going to be around number like 17 to 19, somewhere in there. You hear about a lot of those guys, or a lot of the GMs, they only really have like 10 to 15 players on their top, their first round draft pick boards of what they grade them as. So you made that expression, but they're not going to lose out. So you get that out of your damn head right now. So I already know what you're thinking. Anyways, so it was a good play for this year. It's a good play for the future. I think they were solid trades. So
I think the exciting part too is the Jets going into full rebuild mode. I mean, loading up on those picks. This is going to be a totally different Jets team now. You trade all of your notable youth, see what they do with that. Aaron Glenn, I guess he's made the decision to move on from these guys, obviously, but it'll be interesting to see what they do with that. They have a lot of opportunities in front of them, and I gotta tell you, I absolutely admire your optimism. But the line between optimistic and delusional is very thin.
the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over, getting the same or expecting a different result, right? So you're welcome. The Jets, you talk about it. Here's some notable draft picks that they have over the next 2 years. So in 2026, they have 2 first-round picks. They have theirs and the Colts. They have their second-round pick and Dallas's second-round pick. And then in 2027, they've got 3 first-round picks, being their own, the Cowboys, and then the Colts as well. So right here over the next 2 years, they've got 7 picks within the first 2 rounds. So they obviously believe in Aaron Glenn. They like what he's building, and he's going to have the opportunity, it seems, to build his team and his culture as he sees fit, which is a good deal. Like that's good that they're not just bringing him in and they're going to give him, hey, you're not winning with what we got, so you get 2 years and you're gone. They're kind of giving him that Dan Campbell treatment as far as build your culture, get your guys in the door, get the draft picks, and let's see what can happen. So good for the Jets in that aspect.
I really hope that they allow him to do that, though. I feel like that New York media, never allows that to happen, which is probably what's bitten those two teams the worst is nobody gets an opportunity to actually establish anything. So I really and truly hope that they allow him an opportunity to work through all the kinks and get the right pieces in and build a program instead of what have you done for me lately?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Aaron Glenn, he seems like a good offensive or a defensive minded coach and a good guy that can do some culture and build a culture. So let's hope to them. But yeah, I think that's pretty much everything we got there. Let's pick some games now. Thursday night, what a matchup. We have the Raiders traveling to Denver to take on the Broncos. I got Broncos 9.5 here. The Broncos look like they're not going to be stopped. The Raiders have still looked tough until they play the Cowboys next Monday when they can look like world beaters like they're supposed to all year. Yeah. I mean, the Broncos, their defense too good. I don't think Gino's going to be able to get anything moving there. Bo Nix has been playing. He had a down game against Houston this past week, but they've got a really good running game. They're really getting that 1-2 punch kind of going with Dobbins and Harvey. Harvey's been really good out of the backfield recently, catching passes
Yeah.
especially. He's a really explosive guy. He can go downfield and make those catches. I just don't see the Raiders being able to keep up with him. They didn't have a receiving core before they traded Jacoby Myers, and now they traded him. And that's saying a lot, saying, hey, you didn't have a receiving core, and then you're trading Jacoby Myers. He hasn't really done anything since his days in New England, and even then it wasn't that great. So give me the Broncos there.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Raiders have accepted what this season is, and we're just looking to see what they could get. I'm surprised they didn't move Max Crosby for a little bit more, but I think he's a lifer there. So Broncos way too much for them. Raiders get rolled.
How long does Pete Carroll give himself to build a culture there, man? He doesn't have too many culture season building seasons left. So
Honestly, I don't know if they brought him in to just get by for a season. I don't know what their plan is, but I don't see him being there much longer. I wouldn't be surprised if they moved from him at the end of this year.
yeah, old poor Pete Carroll, they didn't help his coaching resume at all. So getting into Sunday early, we're going back to Europe. We've got a Berlin game here. The Falcons are going to be facing the Colts. This is a game for the Colts to get back on track here. The Falcons have played some people tough. The season hasn't gone the way they wanted to. Michael Penix didn't look terrible last week. He made some good throws. I don't know what's wrong with the Falcons. Bijan hasn't really been doing the things that he's done over the past couple weeks, I guess. Why they're not continuing to feed him the ball. Give your best player the ball that you can. Drake London had a really nice game last week. They need to give those two guys the ball consistently. They need to find that run game to take a lot of it off Penix, though, to do it. Sauce Gardner's practicing. He's potentially already going to play. How much is he going to play? Probably not that much. I guess he's going to have, what, a 17-hour flight to learn the offense, I guess,
Yeah.
or the defense, excuse me. I don't know. The Colts kind of got exposed last week too. I don't know. I'm probably going to go with the Colts here, but
Yeah, I think this Colts team is different. I think last week was a fluke for them. I think they chalk it up as it is what it is and they get back on track. They're too much for the Falcons. I don't know what the Falcons' problem is. It's incredible what they haven't been able to accomplish and what they continue to not be able to accomplish. They have weapons, and it's like they cannot figure out how to use them. They've had Kyle Pitts there for how many years now? Still don't know how to use him. They got Bijan there in his second year. Still, it's like you have a young quarterback, feed the running back the ball. You got probably the best running back in the NFL, one of the best running backs in the NFL, and you're not giving him the ball. I don't understand it, but Colts win this one. The people of Germany get to enjoy Indiana Jones.
that's where they sing "Sweet Caroline" all the time, or is it the John Denver they sing in
John,
Germany? Is
no,
it John
Sweet,
Take Me Home?
yeah,
Is it Sweet Caroline?
yeah.
Yeah. That's always cool to see. But yeah, so both Colts there. Browns are going to New York to take on the Jets. They've got Cleveland -2.5 here. I don't know. I mean, I guess the Jets are going to be pretty deflated from trading two All Pro players. They benched Quincy Williams, who is Quinnen Williams' brother. He was an All Pro, a former All Pro. They benched him too at linebacker. So the Browns defense is probably going to get after. I mean, they've got a good defense. So give me the Browns to take it here.
Yeah, I saw that Kevin Stefanski turned over play calling, which that can go one of two ways. It either works out and their offense turns around, or this is a sign for things to come and he's getting cut at the end of the year. Maybe after this game if they lose it, but I don't see them losing this one. The Dylan Gabriel throwing for 51 attempts. Hopefully we don't see that, but I think the Browns win it. The Jets are just bad.
Yeah, I see him turning the play call over. If you're in fantasy, you probably need to start in Njoku and Judkins if you have them as options. Those are two sleepers there in Njoku more than anything. Probably look at him and give him a look. So
Jerry Jeudy prime for a big game.
he hadn't had one yet. So the Jaguars are traveling to Houston to take on the Texans. There, they got Jacksonville favored by 1.5. Texans are a tough team, man. No C.J. Stroud in this game, so Davis Mills is going to be at the realm again. Yeah, I'm going to take the Jaguars. That defense, the Texans' defense, is the best in the NFL statistically, and
They are good.
eye level. They're a good defense. It's the problem is, Jacksonville hasn't really been able to score either. So you know what? Give me the Texans in this one. Yeah, I don't know that Jacksonville hasn't been able to score consistently to begin with. So Jacoby Myers ain't going to put him over the edge.
I really don't get that trade. I don't understand. Maybe we're wrong. Maybe this was the smartest move ever, but the Jags and the Texans are both having weird seasons. The Jags looks a little bit better just record wise, but I think the Texans win this one too.
Yeah. The Bills are going to travel to Miami to take on the Dolphins, a Dolphins team that didn't gut as much as we thought they would, but they're still pretty lost. The Bills looked really, really good against Kansas City last week, and I think they're going to continue to roll here. So give me the Bills. Josh Allen going to continue to make his case, and they're not going to be able to stop James Cook either.
Yeah, if the Bills continue to feed James Cook and he continues to run the way he has in the games that they've been, you know, the games that they've won favorably, they're probably the best team in the NFL when they have that ground game going because they have no weapons on the outside. Very disappointed to see that they didn't make a move for a wide receiver. But maybe they trust Keon Coleman that much. Maybe this is one of those games where they start to establish something. It's a good practice game, good tune-up game to figure things out. The Dolphins are horrible. So give me the Bills.
Yep. The Patriots are traveling to Tampa to take on the Buccaneers. They've got Tampa Bay by 2.5 here. This is an interesting one. The Patriots have been playing really well. The Bucs are still kind of beat up. I don't know what Bucky Irvin's status is yet.
I think people expected not to play this week.
Yeah, that's a tough one, man. They're banged up pretty good. You really need Mike Evans is done, right? He broke his collarbone. That's a big blow, just as far as a leadership standpoint and a production standpoint. Baker Mayfield is a little banged up as well. Drake May has been playing pretty well too. So, who are you going to pick here?
I'm going to go with the Patriots in this one. I've been really impressed by what they've put together. They still need to figure out that ground game, splitting all these carries between two backs and not really getting a whole lot of production out of them. I think is a problem come playoff time, but I think they're good enough. And Drake May has been really, really impressive. Probably not enough respect on him for the MVP, but I think they have enough to beat Tampa. I think it's going to be a great game, though. Tampa's just too beat up. Patriots are on a roll. Give me the Patriots.
You know what? I've been on the Mayfield train all season. I'm going to stick with it. Give me the Bucks. I think they can get it done. Yeah. The Giants are traveling to Chicago to face the Bears. They've got Chicago -4.5 here. The Giants have been able to keep it respectable here recently. The Bears, they had that matchup with the Bengals last week where it was back and forth, back and forth. I don't know. Give me the Giants. I think the Giants are going to be able to pull one out.
I like the pick. I want to do the same thing, but I think the Bears have too much on the line the way that NFC North is playing out. It's too close of a race for them to drop this one. I think Ben Johnson understands that. I think he's starting to turn that culture around. They're putting things together. I think the Bears win this one, but I feel like it's going to be another high flying matchup. I wouldn't be surprised if Jackson Dart throws for 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, this is more me needing the Bears to win than anything. So, yeah. Baltimore is traveling to Minnesota to take on the Vikings. They've got Baltimore -4.5 here. They played pretty well last time we saw them, right? Lamar's back. They got some things going in the passing game. Derrick Henry did a little better. He was able to get the ground game going. But the Vikings looked pretty well when we last saw them as well. They took down Detroit in Detroit, right? J.J. McCarthy came out, was slinging the pill around a little bit. They looked a little revamped. That defense was playing really well. To go into Detroit and beat the Lions is something. That's something to say there. I'm going to stick with the Vikings on this one.
Yeah, I think, man, this one's a tough one. Because on one end, you have a defense that's not very good, and the Ravens, and on the other end, you have a Vikings offense that is very hit and miss. We still don't really know what we have. But I trust the Vikings a little bit more because I think their defense is phenomenal. I think they give Lamar fits, and I think they win this one. As bad as
It works. Huh? As bad as what?
as bad as the Ravens need this one, I think they lose it.
Yeah. It works in my favor better if the Vikings lose, too. So we've got an NFC South showdown with the Saints traveling to Carolina. Saints just can't put it together, man. Carolina is -5.5 here. I'm going to take the Panthers. Rico Dow is probably going to have a field day.
Yeah, this is a game that the Saints should lose. The Panthers are looking like a football team finally after all these years. But for some reason, I just don't trust them. I wouldn't be surprised if the Saints won this one. I want to see something exciting. I want them to lose because we're fighting the Jets for that number one pick. I think we're going to get it. But give me the Saints in this one.
This is another one that helps if the Panthers lose. So there's a couple on here that I need to lose. I need some things to work in our favor here. Arizona is going to take their team up to Seattle to take on the Seahawks. The Seahawks are favored by 6.5 here. I don't think the Cardinals can keep going the way I don't think the Cardinals are who we saw Monday night. I think that was just kind of who they were playing deal. Jacoby Brissett, he has been known to put it together in the past, but the Seahawks are a very talented team who have been slept on this year. Sorry, Jabby, but they have been slept on. And they're going to be fired up. They got a new weapon showing that they're trying to make some moves to go forward, and I'm going to stick with the Seahawks here.
Yeah, I think with it being a division game, it's probably a close one. Jacoby Brissett, I think, just brings that veteran leadership to the table that Kyler Murray's kind of hit and miss, depending on what Call of Duty is out at the time. Um,
Kyler Murray's out. They put him on IR.
well, see, there you go.
Yep.
But the Seahawks, way too good. They are a legitimate football team. You mentioned it. Getting Rashid Shaheed in just proves that they think that they're a great football team. So I'll take the Seahawks easy in this one. It's not a tough decision. And the Seahawks don't have a Deron Bland on their defense that's going to lose his ankles to the lamest slant route I've ever seen in my life. So
That was uncalled for. You know, a little fun fact about Monday that I didn't bring up was apparently I saw this. I guess the Cardinals have played on Monday Night Football 14 times in their history, and they've only won 4 times, and all 4 of them have been against the Cowboys.
I love to see it.
How in the world that happens, I have no idea, but it did. So the Lions are going to travel to our nation's capital to take on the Commanders. A Jaden Daniels Commanders. That was nasty to see why they kept him in the game. It was 38-7, I believe, at that time. I'll never understand it. The weird coincidence that I see is that apparently he got hurt the same spot that RG3 got hurt. It was the same down and the same distance against the same team. Is that wild?
History repeats itself.
It's happening all the same way again. Except for his knee, it was his
Elbow.
elbow that got dislocated or whatever. Nasty. Poor guy. So you're getting a Marcus Mariota led Commanders team that has not had a lot of firepower here recently. Their receiving core has been banged up. I don't know what the status of those guys are going into it. Even so, the Lions are going to be hungry to get a win again after losing to the Vikings last week. This is one of those games where I think the Lions are gonna put it on the ground quite a bit, and they're just gonna dominate them that way. I'm gonna take the Lions.
Yeah. I think the Lions got to get back on track. I think the most disappointing part of this Commander season is the defense not being what it was last year. The offense sputtering out, kind of expected whenever you have a quarterback like Jaden Daniels that runs as much as he does. You know injuries are going to happen at some point as much as we don't want them to, but that defense has left a lot to be desired compared to what they were last year, and I'm not sure why or what the difference is. Dan Quinn being a defensive minded coach, you didn't expect that. But I think the Lions get back on track and roll in this one.
For sure. Next game, we have the Rams going to San Francisco to take on the 49ers. They've got the Rams favored by -4.5 here. The Niners, man, they've just been trucking along, right? Winning any way they can. Mac Jones, he's been playing tough football. They've had some unfortunate injuries, the Niners have, all season, really, and they've just been able to continue to get it done going forward. So the Rams have been playing really tough, though. They've been a stellar team. They've been clicking on both sides of the ball. They're definitely one of the best teams in the NFL right now. This game means a lot. The Rams are 6-2, the Niners are 6-3. I'm gonna take the Rams in this one. I think they're playing too hot. I don't know what the status is for Puka Nacua. He had that rib injury. They said that it didn't look that bad. It looks like he's still questionable right now. So that would be a big blow to them if they weren't able to have Puka Nacua, because they do have Tutu Atwell that is on IR as well. So they're pretty thin at a receiver standpoint right now. Obviously, having Devontae Adams there helps a lot. Then they can lean on that run with Kyron Williams. They've been getting Blake Corum involved a little bit more too. So they've got some different weapons there. Their defense has really been able to get after the quarterback as well. So give me the Rams in this one. I know the Niners have been able to pull a lot through. They're going to have to really rely on Christian McCaffrey in this game like they have in the past to get it done, but I just think the Rams have too much firepower here.
Yeah, I agree. The what the Niners I've said it before, what the Niners have been able to do, given all those injuries that they've endured this season, is pretty special. But the Rams are a very, very good football team. And I think anybody that's going to get unlucky enough to play either the Rams or the Seahawks in a wild card matchup, I feel bad for whoever has to play them. Either one, whichever one finishes in whichever spot. But those are two very good teams, very similar records. I think the Rams beat the Niners, though.
Yep. Last game, Sunday Night Football. The Steelers are traveling to SoFi to take on the Chargers here. They have the Chargers minus 2.5. This is a good game, man. The Steelers, they turned around. They turned it around last week against the Colts. That defense, they got tired of hearing about it, and they were able to get after the quarterback. The Chargers do have some injuries across the offensive line. Joe Alt's down again. They're all pro left tackle. So they're going to have a tough time defending against that defensive line of the Niners. And they play really physical on the back end. They're going to keep Jalen Ramsey playing safety now. He's going to play free safety. That's where he played last week, and he did a really good job. So they're going to have a tough matchup for him there. And the Chargers are another team that we talked about them needing to make a move for a running back, right? It's actually, thinking about it, surprising, since the Jets are doing what they did, that they didn't go after somebody like a Breece Hall and try to, really get some juice there going, because they have looked horrendous from a running back perspective. That really hurts that aspect for me on that side. Yes, Justin Herbert is a very talented quarterback. He has a rocket for an arm, right? He can make every throw that you need him to make, but every quarterback's best friend is a run game. And they failed him in that aspect of trying to find somebody there. So it's a tough one. Aaron Rodgers hasn't looked super great either on his side of the ball. They failed in games past to get like DK Metcalf the ball. They have had a decent running game with Warren. Jalen Warren has been able to get some things going. It's tough. This one is really truly it could go either way. For some reason in my gut, it doesn't feel like the Steelers are going to pull it out on a Sunday night game. But if it was like a noon or a 3:30 game, then they would have a better opportunity. But for whatever reason, I just can't see it happening.
So you're going Chargers?
Yeah, I think I'm going to go Chargers.
Okay. We got to this matchup, and it reminded me that you left out a huge trade. The Saints deloaded Trevor Penning to the Chargers. That's a left tackle, arguably the worst left tackle in football, probably the most penalized left tackle in football. We got better because of it. So I don't know what the Chargers were thinking. They should have gone with anybody else, but I'm glad that he's finally off our roster. You mentioned it. Disappointed they didn't go get a running back. I guess what they're thinking is, Marion Hampton may be coming back soon, so why spend the money when he's coming back? Maybe they thought they could get by these next couple of weeks without him. So I think what the Steelers did last week was pretty impressive. That was a very good Colts football team that they beat, the best team in the NFL at the time. They're an interesting team because I feel like their defense should start to get it together now, and their offense can do enough. You got that old decrepit quarterback that, isn't what he once was, but he's good once as he ever was. So problem is he's got to be good once as he ever was 17 times. So we'll see. But I think the Steelers win this one. I think they get on a roll here.
Well, we're split there too. We'll see. That last game, it's a Monday night game. We'll talk about it Sunday. You got the Eagles traveling to Green Bay for the Packers. That should be a good Monday night football game there. But we'll touch on that Sunday when we break down and give our recap about everything. So those were our picks there for the NFL for Sunday. That was pretty good. Getting into the outro, the end. We covered a lot there. There was a lot that happened and went on. That was, yeah, that's fun. What do you think, Emilio?
Another exciting week.
Yep.
I'm fired.
Another exciting week.
College football slate. I really hope I'm right about all my picks. It's actually a pretty good NFL slate. Last week wasn't too bad. This week seems better, so I'm excited.
Yeah. No, it'd definitely be good. That it's there's a lot there to unpack. The college football, I'm really excited about that. to see how it all lands there. You know, that BYU Tech game is going to be a lot of fun. Really hope the Aggies can pull it through and be the team that we've been hoping that they'd be for a long time. So we'll see. All that there's left to do is watch now. We can't control any of the outcomes. So that'll be a lot of fun. Yeah. That's all I got. You good? Got anything else for the people?
Uh, Anybody and everybody that sent thoughts and prayers our way, please keep sending them. We appreciate them. Thank y'all for our consistent listeners. I know for a fact y'all are sending them out, so thank y'all. I'm excited for this weekend.
Yes, sir. Well, guys, we appreciate it in whatever capacity that you have listened/watched. We are going to try to put this out more than just Spotify. We'll have some reels going through Facebook. Go follow us on our Facebook at In-Laws and Out of Bounds Sports Podcast. I'll look at putting it up on YouTube, maybe put it on X, a couple different things like that. We will try to get more platforms for folks to see this and view it if they wish. If they don't, oh well. We still like talking ball and giving our opinions, whether they are appreciated or not. So we're going to keep showing up and doing it. As long as they keep scouting, we're going to keep playing, right? So
Bingo.
yes, sir. So anyways, guys, all that being said, thank you so much. We greatly appreciate it. Please come back. We'll go from there. We'll see you next time, guys. This has been the In-Laws and Out of Bounds Sports Podcast. See you later.